Hi, guys. Welcome in. Hey, this is Jared Hicks with Jake's Fireworks. Very pleased to start a short series here with Ed Vasel of Far East Imports and kind of educate people on kind of the state of the industry, where imports are right now, and where we see them going for the future. So, kind of, we'd like to start. Anybody we feel like can sell fireworks whenever things go well. Everything goes well. No product, no disruptions, no delays. That's easy. But the question is, what happens when something goes wrong? Ed, what happens when something goes wrong?
Yeah, we're potentially facing an issue this year. Everybody, if you're watching this video, you're probably interested in this side of the business. You're importing or distributing or you're wholesale, retailing, whatever. But obviously, we had a pretty bad accident in China and Hunan this year at one of the factories, and we're going to kind of talk about what the residual effects of that could be, what we're seeing and what we're hearing on our side to try and help you prepare for 2027, because that starts now. Even though we're, the time of this recording, we're only a couple weeks away from 4th of July and America's 250th. Happy 250 America, by the way. So anyway, and if you're new to this news, yes, I am here with Jake's now. I am helping run the Far East Import Program. A lot of changes coming along there, but like Jared said, it's easy to sell and supply fireworks when things go right, and that's been the case for the last several years since the last crisis that we had, which was COVID, that caused some serious supply chain issues. But what happens when something goes wrong? So we're going to talk about how the Far East Importing Program and Jake's domestic program are kind of a great marriage of programs there that can create an insurance policy to make sure you've got product when these issues arise.
And I think everybody, that is an importer of fireworks or has been an importer of fireworks for the last, 10 to 20 years, is probably aware of a lot of the issues that we had even pre-COVID with supply chain issues. But obviously since COVID, those things are magnified big time. So, we feel like this year, with the explosion that Ed talked about, it's not necessarily a matter of if there's going to be an issue. It's more that, there is going to be an issue. We know it. We know we're going to have a shortened window. It's just what steps can we make to alleviate some of those issues and be the best fireworks companies that we can be going forward for this 2027 season and the Sunday 4th following that.
Yeah, the biggest concern now, what we're hearing, what we're seeing, talking to our partners in China, it's not necessarily whether the factories are going to reopen, it's when. The concern is going to be lost production time, and there's certainly a possibility some factories will struggle to meet the new government implemented safety regulations. We've already lost valuable manufacturing days, and once they do reopen, they're going to be trying to balance the very tail end of European orders and then their own domestic demand. So U.S. production schedules are going to be under a very compressed time frame. So production in Hunan will be delayed. Right now, it looks like till October, and even once they do open, because of the new safety regulations, it's likely that each factory's production their capacity could be reduced. So, last year, if a factory's capacity was 1,000 cases a day under the new regulations, there's the potential that might be reduced by a couple hundred cases a day or more. So there's that factor that goes in there as well.
So yeah, like we said, it's not really a matter of if there's going to be an issue. There will be, and it's just how does it affect us? How does it hit us on the U.S. side of the market? So that brings me to another thing. Ed, what makes Far East Imports different from the other consumer fireworks importers in the U.S.?
I think several things, Jared. You guys have spent decades building those relationships with those factories. Clearly better than any relationships and factory management and control than anything I've seen in my years in the industry. And those relationships are going to matter when production schedules become tight. Second, it's just significant buying power. Factories know we're bringing substantial volume to the table year after year. We might be placing an order for 10,000 cases of an item, and those are the premium orders that the factories are looking for over there. So they're a lot more likely to jump on those type orders than they are smaller batches where they've got to reset their whole production line between products.
Right. So, it's I think the size of our group, like you said, kind of helps us being able to just get large, consistent orders in China, and something that the Chinese can expect from our groups together are the ability to put in large orders and be able to receive large orders all year round. So I think that's something a lot of smaller importers probably don't think about is advantages like that.
Exactly. It's fireworks are a commodity. It really all comes down to a trusted relationship and who you're working with. Everybody gets similar FOB lists, but not everybody gets the same treatment when production slots start filling up, and it's time to decide over there whose product gets made and shipped. So our volume and long-time partnerships really help us secure those production opportunities that might not be available to smaller buyers.
No doubt about it. No doubt. What would you say to an importer who's thinking about waiting until later to put an import order and maybe dragging into the fall or even the early winter?
Don't. The sooner the better. If you've got a partial order ready now, if you've only got 40 out of 68 CBMs to fill a container, send it to us. Let us get that production in the queue. You can always, fill out the rest of that a month or two down the road. If we'll work with you, help us help you. I guess that's kind of the message there. It's more important this year than the past several years to get them in as soon as possible. Jared, we've both been around long enough, a decade or more ago, you could go to the NFA convention in September maybe and watch product demos, place an order, and be fairly confident you were going to get your order for the 4th of July next year. That has shifted over the years. If you're waiting until September to place orders, that's actually considered late now because of how the things have changed and how the production schedule at the factories has progressed in China over the years. A lot of the bigger companies, they are already placing or have placed orders for 4th of July 2027. And I think another point that compounds that is this is the 250th for birthday for the United States this year. Sales, and it's a Saturday. So organically, sales are going to be up because it's a Saturday, 4th of July, weekend 4th of July, national average. I think sales are up 15% versus the middle of the week, 4th of July. You add the 250th on top of that. So we're likely to see inventory levels drop this 4th of July, which means bigger orders coming right after the 4th of July for 2027. And for all the reasons above we just discussed, we're looking at likely very limited production time. So that's kind of why we got together to chat today, just help people understand that and let you know the urgency behind getting your orders in as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another thing too, coming back to that, I just thought of this, Ed, but the people that have southern season, the New Year's season, a lot of the southeast part of the U.S. and other parts as well. But that really highlights too, the need to get cracking on either early warehouse fills, after our 4th season, or early container orders to try to get in front of that to have a chance to get merchandise for that. But going to the domestic side here, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but I feel like one of the biggest advantages Jake's has and Far East has isn't just the China U.S. side, but it's what we have right here in the U.S. We have 8 warehouses strategically placed throughout the U.S. As far west as Washington State, as far east as Pennsylvania, and kind of a lot in the Midwest where a lot of fireworks are sold. But we maintain huge inventories in those warehouses, specifically for seasons like this. Everybody remembers COVID in 2020, 2021, where supply got tight. We all had record years that year, but we were all scrambling. We didn't really want to do that. So since then, we've been actively building our inventory up in our warehouses in the U.S. to try to prevent the scrambling that might occur for a season like this and the 250th, when Saturday 4th, the 250th, excitement's high. You've got the World Cup going on, being played in the U.S. and a lot of cities right now. You've got a lot of travelers and just a lot of more opportunity for people to buy consumer fireworks this year than we've seen in a while.